Moreno questions what he calls the super slow deployment of COVID-19 vaccines to high-risk areas like the city of Manila. One member of the OCTA research group wants LGUs to streamline their pre-vaccination procedures in order to speed up the rollout. The Agriculture Department is optimistic that the newly declared state of calamity will boost its hog repopulation program. The West Philippine Sea Task Force reports more than 280 Chinese vessels still lingering in the area. And in entertainment, Dua Lipa, Olivia Rodrigo, and other women artists dominated this year's BRIT Awards. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The OCTA research group says the COVID-19 vaccination requirements of LGUs could be causing the bottleneck in their inoculation drives. In the city of Manila, Mayor Isko Moreno is blaming the, quote, super slow deployment of jabs. Here's the report.
One member of the OCTA research group has flagged the bottlenecks in the COVID-19 vaccination drives of local government units. In an interview with the chiefs, Father Nicanor Istriaco said vaccinees are asked to fill out 3 different forms before receiving jabs. These are the COVID-19 Electronic Immunization Registry, or CEIR, Health Declaration, and Health Consent forms. Also causing the holdup, according to Istriaco, is the blood pressure check prior to inoculation.
No wonder it takes hours. In the States, you can go into the local Mercury drug.
Yes,
there's a chair there. You sit down in that chair. Then the pharmacist comes and gives you the injection and you leave. Yes. There is no BP. I'm saying we can do better at streamlining that vaccination protocol that we're doing in the Philippines right now.
With this, Austriaco is encouraging LGUs to determine the optimum rate of vaccination ahead of the arrival of supplies. But in the high-risk area of Manila, the main problem is the supply itself. Mayor Isko Moreno claims that vaccines stored in the national government facilities have yet to reach densely populated cities like Manila.
Hindi po mabagal, super bagal yung deployment. Kasi lahat ng local government ready naman mag-deploy kasi ginagawa na natin yan. I don't know why is it taking so long.
It's a different story in Makati City, which is currently experiencing an oversupply of COVID-19 vaccines. Mayor Abby Binay says they have already vaccinated 50,000 Makatizens, but they have still spare doses.
So hindi ho namin bubuksan yung vial hanggang sa hindi nabubuo yung yung grupo ng babakunahan. Mapapagalitan kami ng DOH kapag mataas yung aming wastage at baka hindi na kami bigyan ng bakuna.
The health department says they can only do so much in deploying the much-needed vaccines, especially as they are arriving in tranches. Undersecretary Mirna Cabataje says they also need to deploy vaccines to other parts of the country aside from NCR.
We cannot give everybody at the same time. Nagpa-priority tayo ng NCR, about 50 to 70% ang nakalaan sa NCR+, pero kailangan din natin bigyan yung ibang region.
Cabataje also notes that there are still many members of the A1 to A3 clusters that have yet to receive their COVID-19 vaccine.
Let's talk more about the country's COVID-19 vaccination program with Dr. Maria Consorcia Quizon. Dr. Quizon is a member of the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, or NITAG. Good evening, Doctora. OCTA research is seeing a logjam specifically at the pre-vaccination procedures, which actually involves health consent forms, checking of blood pressure. Is there any way to streamline and improve this?
Hello, good evening, everybody. That actually has already been streamlined compared to the first time that we vaccinated the health workers, because I personally experienced that when I had to fill up so many forms. So nag-improve na yan nung lagay na yon. Okay, so as we are trying to roll out and having experience in vaccination, we will be improving the system.
All right. Are there anything or any specific measures that you're eyeing to further improve the system that has already gone through improvements so far?
Well, first of all, we encourage people to register online because that will really save a lot of time. So that when you go there, all you need to say is, "I am Juan de la Cruz," and then all the data that's needed from you is already encoded in if you have pre-registered. So that will really save a lot of time. But then also we recognize that not a lot of people will be tech savvy or will have access to computers. So there is time actually, because when you sit there and wait for your turn, step by step, you have time to fill up the forms. So yes, it is a possibility that is the bottleneck, but I think that could be the exception rather than the rule.
All right. Another issue, Doc, is that the City of Manila is complaining about having a shortage of vaccine supply, while on the other hand, Makati has excess supply. Does this say that our current distribution scheme is effective, or are we missing something here? Is it just perhaps a momentary thing?
Right. Different strokes for different folks. As we say, iba-iba ang diskarte ng mga LGU, no? So it's really up to them whether mabilis or mabagal, no? What is important is for DOH to see to it that there is an allotment for the LGU, and I truly believe that the DOH is doing its best to get the vaccines fast and furious immediately to the recipients, okay? So it is entirely possible na sa Maynila ang feeling ni Mayor Isko is ang bagal naman, ibig sabihin nauubusan siya, and that is good. Ibig sabihin malaki ang demand sa Maynila, you know? But that doesn't mean naman na sa Makati baka konti lang muna ang mas mataas ang vaccine hesitancy nila, kaya sumosobra, so to speak. But then that also can be remedied because, you know, as you finish each priority group and then nobody's coming anymore, then you can start to the next in line. Like if you finish with the A2, you go to the A3, then you go to the A4. So may solusyon naman ng mga yan.
Yeah. Regarding that, no, Dr. Quizon, actually we wanted to ask, so pagka ganon, no, if it's the LGU that maybe has observed na, oh, we could do this thing better or improve this requirement better or this registration procedure better, are they allowed to make changes on their own, or do they have to consult the DOH or any other authority first?
Well, first of all, if they've done the basic minimum that the DOH wants or is a requirement, for example, name, age, you know, all those, the three forms, then certainly they can do their own discarte. Because, you know, as I always said, you'll be surprised because they're the ones who knows their community, so they would know best how to do things as quickly and as expediently as possible. So they are allowed as long as they do the minimum and follow the guidelines. Those are guidelines, but they can have their own discarte, you know. So as long as they do the basic minimum, then they will be allowed.
All right, thanks for clearing that up for us, Doc. Now, vaccine czar Charlie Galvez is also pushing for a mega vaccine hub, which OCTA research says could be a potential super spreader venue because of the possible inflow of vaccinees. What's your take on something like this?
First of all, I think it will work as long as it's going to be managed well. You don't want, it's going to be a super spreader when you just allow anybody and everybody to just walk in. But before the vaccine, before the day of vaccination, if you've told the people that here is your schedule, you come at 8 o'clock, you know, and then yung susunod na batch, you come at 9 o'clock, you come at 10. So careful scheduling, and I think we will be able to avoid like really crowding if the vaccination centers are prudent in their scheduling of whoever is should be vaccinated at that hour. So walang magsisiksikan, walang ang dami kasi naka-oras eh. May appointment sila on such hour, on such day. It can be done.
All right, thank you so much again for your time and your insights, Dr. Maria Consorcio Quizon, member of the NITAG. The Agriculture Department is optimistic that they can fast-track the repopulation of the local hog supply thanks to the declaration of a state of calamity. Shaila Francisco with the story.
As of January 1, the country is estimated to have lost more than 3 million pigs due to the African swine fever. But the Agriculture Department is confident that it can regain more than what's lost once its 3-year repopulation program commences. They would need an additional 6.6 billion pesos in funds for the program, but it would be possible now that the state of calamity has been declared by President Duterte. Under the repopulation program, the DE targets to produce 10.5 million pigs for slaughter, equivalent to more than 738,000 metric tons. With this, the agency expects to have a surplus by 2023.
Kung wala po kaming resources at kung may resources po kami na pwede namin i-realign, ito po ay pwede nang gagawin dito po sa under the state of calamity.
However, local producers are still doubtful since it would depend on how the government uses the additional funds. For one, Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura says indemnification funds should be given immediately. The group notes that it takes at least 7 months before hog raisers receive their payment. Sinag says additional funding should be allocated to test imported pork for ASF.
Kung may ganun na programa, matest yan, maniwala ka, Manong Nelo, lahat na local industry dito sa Luzon mag-start na, mag-repopulate. Pero kung wala pa yun, lahat takot na mag-repopulate kasi walang testing.
The DE says only 10% of imports are being inspected upon entry to check whether there is a misdeclaration. The rest of these supplies are inspected in cold storage facilities.
We have directed the Bureau of Animal Industry already to do random testing of all imported meat and meat products.
As for indemnification, the DA targets to speed up payment such that affected raisers receive payment within a month. The agency will update suggested retail prices of pork once they receive the amended EO on pork import tariff. Shaila Francisco, VR1 News.
Here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The ICTSI Foundation clarifies that its proposed mega vaccination center is to be located on a deserted portion of Nayong Pilipino and not in an urban forest. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. has been receiving criticism due to the project's possible damage of the ecosystem in the area. The West Philippine Sea Task Force reports that some 287 Chinese militia vessels are still lingering in the municipality of Kalayaan. The Chinese ships were spotted as the task force continues to patrol the West Philippine Sea amid incursions by foreign vessels. And National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon faced Supreme Court justices at today's oral arguments on the anti-terror law. Esperon announced that on Thursday, the Anti-Terror Council will publish a new list of groups designated as terrorists. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.